that meet, and I think that committee was meeting from 11:30 to 12 or 11 to.
Who's the person I know?
Ready?
Yeah.
Well, we will go ahead and call this special meeting to order. If you can look at your agenda, letter A under new business, we have number 1, curriculum assessment instruction with a kindergarten position discussion. Dr. Leck.
Okay, so I have put in your drives this morning, plus I provided a written copy, just knowing that probably some haven't had a chance to look at that. We've talked before about really strong numbers in kindergarten. That's great. That's continued to accelerate throughout the course of the summer more than it has in the past. We are looking, we were kicking right at with our current, those that are currently enrolled and those that are scheduled to enroll, right at the 178 to 180 mark. And I also listed in that memo what the section numbers are. And so those section numbers right now, we have 2 sections of 21, 4 sections of 22, and 2 sections of 23. And actually we just had one that pulled out, so one of those sections of 23 or 22 is down to 21, so 3, 3, and 2. So, but ranging from 21 to 23, that's a lot of kindergartners. In the past, I think it's the current 8th grade class, if you remember, was split in the past also for kind of similar reasons. My concern of splitting the classes, I think at this point with 100, potentially 180 students, we don't have a choice. I mean, we need to do one of 2 things. We either need to split a section, add a section, or we need to pretty significantly enhance aids. Then there's benefits and there's pros and cons to each of those. My recommendation is to split the sections, but I want to just share kind of what my thought process is. If we just split a section, without any planning for, I keep saying split a section, but split again and have that additional section, so 9 sections in this kindergarten class. My concern becomes what do we do at 3rd, 4th grade, or if we start to see some decline in enrollments, that happens. We could have 180 students now and 170 students 2 years from now. When we split the sections with the current 8th grade, there was a long period of time where the current 7th grade was actually larger, by about 5 or 6 students. And I think we need to position ourselves as a district to be able to not be locked into 9 sections for 6 years. And so I think we can do that with some creative, looking at that extra section, wherever that additional class goes, maybe looking to keep those sections a little bit smaller than the other ones, rather than just evening them out across the whole district, with the idea that at third grade, you know, whenever there's a natural point to do that, maybe it's at the end of second grade, maybe it's at the end of third grade though, to be able to transition away from 3, if that's an option at that time. It's gonna be a lot easier to have a section of 24, for example, in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade than it is to do that at K1, 2. So that's kind of what I'd like to do is put a sections of 17, 18 in that 3-section building. You know, that would still have some higher numbers at the kindergartens and the other levels, but it positions us to be able to move on and not be locked into that additional section, because there is a cost. But I'll be honest with you, we've reached a tipping point. You know, we need to either add a section or significantly add aides to support the teachers that are at those levels. I guess I would think, you know, the benefit of adding aides, although I'm not making that recommendation, the benefit is you don't have the contract issues. You just have the support staff issues. You know, the con of that is we can't find the aides we need now.
Yeah.
So where are we gonna find 4 more when we can't fill some that we're still looking for now? And you know, and that would be a paper solution and not an actual solution for the teachers that would have to deal with that. And even if we have 4, that means half of the day that they would still not have support. And you'd be looking at a classroom of 22 without additional support, especially at this time of year to start the year, it'd be pretty tough. And so that's my recommendation on kindergarten sections. Is it okay if I just go with the rest of this memo, because I think there's.
I do believe so, yes.
Okay, so we also have later on the agenda, there's a special education MOU that we're looking at, and you know, my recommendation is to move forward with, we are struggling. We don't have any viable candidates that are fully credentialed in the special education, for 2 special education positions that we have open, one at the high school in our self-contained ED room, and if you remember, we had a recent passing of a staff member at Lincoln Elementary, and we have not had a candidate that is fully credentialed in those areas either. And so again, looking at how we can be creative and get credentialed and still recruit and retain people, I'm bringing forward the suggestion that we would train those people internally. We would help for them that can get that provisional license. They have a 4-year degree and an interest in pursuing that master's degree, that we would support them financially, pay for those classes. The trade-off of the district would be that we get them for 5 years. So they would be committed. If they were to leave the district, they would have to reimburse the district a prorated amount based on how long they've stayed. So I think that's kind of a win-win for the teacher, and it's a win-win for the district, because we get to fill a need that we can't fill otherwise.
Is that 5 years from the time of completion of the masters or start?
Start of the agreement.
Okay.
I think that's how it's structured, correct?
Start of
MOU is.
agreement. 2 years, the classes have to be done within 2
Yeah.
years, the memo.
Okay, and then it'd be 3, yeah, okay.
So it's very similar to the MOU that is in place for the Teacher Leadership Academy folks, that they would have to pay back. If, you know, after, so we get them after that credential for 3 additional years.
Okay.
And then you have one more piece on this memo. Would you like to address that now, and then we'll go through
Yeah.
personnel?
The last one is also automotive.
Sorry, one last thing on that. Do we have an approximate cost of what the master's credential would be? I mean, if not, that's fine.
Well, if you look for 2, you know, you're probably looking at a couple grand per semester per
Okay.
teacher. So $5 grand, $6 grand.
Thank you.
And then the automotive instructor, you know, we're kind of in the same boat there, where we're really struggling to find, and anytime you have an automotive candidate, it's very rare that they would have credentials. There is a program in place, there's a pathway in place for them to get credentials. Very common to use provisionals, but they do have requirements, and right now we have who we feel is a good candidate, but they're running into some issues with some of the requirements with some of the experience pieces. So we're looking to see how that can happen. And so if you throw the automotive, the 2 special ed, and the kindergarten teacher, the other piece that I'm asking is that you just give us authority here, so we don't have to bring the board back together to act on these, because we're running into a pretty quick turnaround here, where we want to be able to bring people in. And so I would ask then for authority to move forward with that, the ability to hire a kindergarten teacher, an automotive teacher, and then our special education teachers without bringing it back. So you give me the authority to hire at this meeting. Normally you have the names of those people first. And I'm just asking that in this instance, because of the time frame, that you allow us to do it this way. And I will say, if we don't have qualified people, or people that we don't feel will be, we're gonna have to move in a different direction. We aren't just gonna hire people, they have to be able to fill those needs, and they need to be able to do those positions, do those jobs. I'm thinking of kindergarten, for example. If we can't get somebody, we'll go with A route. We aren't gonna hire somebody, just hire somebody.
Oh, we can't find it.
Well, we'll have to make it different. Well, right now, we did post a position, and right now there are 0 candidates, so
For kindergarten?
it's August. We do have some, and I think anytime you look at, if we have these other positions, you're filling from the same pool. So if you have one that might have been interested in Lincoln, for example, and that special education going through that MOU, and all of a sudden a kindergarten position becomes available, that's much more interesting to them. But then we have our Lincoln issue. So I think, really, I think in those 3 positions, we have 2 candidates and 3 spots. So we have some more work to do with recruiting. And then if we can't, we need to be creative on how we can fill those needs. But that's why I would like the flexibility to be able to move forward without having to bring the board back.
All right, thank you guys for that. So let's move on to, we're gonna move on to section 2 here in personnel, and then we're gonna take each one of the votes here and have discussion, and obviously ask more questions as needed. So letter A under personnel is the memorandum of understanding for the special education strategist teacher position. Can I have a motion to, talk about this MOU?
So moved.
Roger motions, a second? Second by, Jason? Okay, so talking about offering 2 candidates an incentive to get their master's in special education with a 5-year, tie into the district. Any questions? Yes, Melissa?
Are we going to put any type of a cap on what we're gonna pay for tuition, because obviously some universities cost a lot more than others.
Okay,
I'm just wondering, are we going to say,
in the
So-
current, in the MOU that we didn't have that.
Yeah, the MOU is in the drive. I'm just trying, it doesn't have a cap
It doesn't
on
have the
there.
masters, but it has, it states specific classes
Yeah.
the specific classes.
That are needed for the
Master's,
credential.
For,
Yeah.
with BS, Bismarck, which I'm surprised, with Bismarck. So, that might be a good idea, to put them,
I'm just not sure what that amount is
yeah.
right now, but it does list the classes, those are the classes that we're
Specific
approving.
classes that they're,
So the difference would be, maybe one university charges a little bit more for that individual class than another, but I don't think the difference is gonna be enough that it would make a difference, because MOU does cover specific classes that need to be taken.
Does that help? Yeah. Roger?
I would say we don't, because we don't wanna short that person either, by limiting, saying this is the amount we're gonna pay, and if it goes over, then they would have to pay. I would say just leave it open-ended, because like you say, it's gonna be a little bit more here, a little bit less there, and that price shouldn't matter in the long run.
I don't think there's gonna be enough difference, I guess,
Right.
that, if we're just talking about the specific classes, I'm not sure the cost is gonna be prohibitive, the difference is gonna be prohibitive.
I guess I have, obviously we would like to have candidates already in
Yeah.
place with these credentials, but we have these 2 positions and we need folks, and this is a tough area to find folks. So if we have individuals from our district that are interested and are willing to, get these credentials, I would like to support them.
Have we identified anybody yet, or this is gonna be an open-ended info?
They're in
No, one is in here already,
One is in
and one is a candidate that could fill either one of the other 2 positions, kindergarten or the Lincoln spot.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions related to the MOU with the special education?
Can I make one more?
Yes, of course.
And just for the record, there isn't anybody in any of these 3 positions that's fully credentialed. that is in our candidate pool at all. So just so we're aware. So alternative or provisional licensure is the only options that we have.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to letter B, the approval to hire Jason Carroll, special education strategist at the high school with a salary of $53,422, salary to be adjusted upon completion of negotiations. Dr.
So
Luck?
if I can just add a comment, so Mr. Carroll had previously served as an ISS instructor at the high school. Had worked previously in Edgeley as a classroom teacher, currently working for the state of North Dakota in adult education. He would be able to go through, get the provisional, and be eligible to teach essentially next door to where he had ISS at the high school into the high school emotionally disturbed self-contained room.
Can I have a motion for his approval?
So moved.
Robin moves. Second by Steve. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Letter C, the approval to, can I have a motion for the approval to hire Lindsay Hawkinson, Title I teacher at Roosevelt Elementary, salary of $43,117, salary to be adjusted upon completion of negotiations.
So moved.
So by Bob, second by Greg. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Letter D, approval for the superintendent Robert Leck to hire for the open positions of auto tech teacher at the career and tech and special education strategist teacher at Lincoln Elementary.
We have the kindergarten position to that as well.
You have that as a second, a
Oh.
separate letter, so, and I would like to actually keep those separate.
Okay.
So letter D, again, a motion to approve the superintendent to fill open positions for auto tech teacher at the Career and Tech Center and the special education strategist teacher at Lincoln Elementary.
So,
Motion by Bob, seconded by Roger, any discussion? Yes, Ann?
This is the one that I think if we can't find someone that can get certified, I don't understand what our alternative would be.
I think we'll find, we have some, I feel confident that we'll have some options.
And you're working through with the Career and Tech Center of the state to help find solutions so that they'll be
Well,
in compliance?
yeah, with auto tech, like I said, I think we have a candidate, we just need to get the candidate into the pathway to receive that provisional. That, there's just a little bit of a hiccup there, and we're hopeful, but if we can't, then we'll have to move on somewhere else, or, find a different option.
Any other questions or discussion points? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, letter E, the approval to add and hire one full-time equivalent for a kindergarten teacher. Can I have a motion for that approval? Moved by Bob, excuse me. Second by Jason. Okay, discussion. Jason?
Just curious, the Gusner location, is that because of room, convenience, that's where most of these?
A little bit of both of those.
Okay.
It's, there's a little precedence there too, we've had that section in that area, it's one of our, we have two growing areas. We have in the Louis L'Amour area and we have in the Gusner area, which we're seeing growth. If we do see growth, it's gonna be in the buildings, it's probably going to be in one of those areas. Louis doesn't have any space, there isn't an available classroom to do that, and we can make Gusner work.
And so, I don't know much about this, but then like current, neighborhood school, is it gonna be disruptive to a
No.
lot? Okay.
Boundary wouldn't change, we have some, we always have waivers.
Right.
We always have waiver requests, and in the last couple of years, we've tried to be, really stick to boundaries more, because we have boundaries for a reason, and try to, unless there's, a real sound reason, or if it benefits the district in some way, to grant waivers, we would do that, otherwise keeping them into those area schools. And I think that, no, I don't think the boundaries would be an issue. We do have some students that have been assigned into into area schools where we might have to call them back and shift and say, hey, you know, Washington isn't going to work, or, you know, we placed you in Washington, you know, we had a new section that opened up in Augusta, and so there's
But
gonna have
that'll
to
be
be some
minimal.
shifting.
You think?
You know, we have, you know, the students that have yet to register, and it would be a placement, you know,
Right.
you are at this school.
Yeah.
You know, we have, some that have requested waivers that we've denied, we would then turn around and say, you know, you had previously been denied, and now we can make this move, and so I don't think it's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Melissa?
I just had a question as far as if we did have to do the aid route.
Yeah.
Currently you said that there's 8 positions that are still open. Aren't those all special ed positions that are open where the aides would be just a regular classroom?
Yeah.
Would that be, I'm thinking that
A
might
little
be
bit more
easier,
attractive, yeah.
easier to fill.
It may be easier to fill. I do believe though, if we were looking for 4 aides in August, those would be difficult to find. And I think, that is, in my opinion, a secondary option, because the best option would be to have a certified teacher. If we're gonna spend the same amount of, you know, in our budget, you know, add those personnel, I would rather have it be a certified teacher than just kind of, the aides feel like a Band-Aid. Like I said, you would, for example, if you hired 4 aides, one would spend the morning in Washington and the afternoon at Louis Moore. That's gonna be great for the morning in Washington, less so for the afternoon, but that teacher still has the same responsibilities, unless we're gonna go an aide in every classroom, and then you're spending more than what you'd be doing for a teacher, so.
Yeah, then, other question would be, then what happens when all those kids become first graders? And
Teacher follows,
the teacher that's hired for kindergarten would just
yeah,
move up?
and they're hired in that manner,
Okay,
to know, that you would follow, not necessarily those kids, but that
right,
grade level.
that grade level,
Yep.
it would be.
And how that's worked in the past is oftentimes that teacher may find another opportunity, there's attrition in the district all the time.
Right.
So, you know, instead of going to, you know, I went from K to 1, and now instead of going up to 2nd grade, I'm gonna fill that 1st grade position at another school. And so then I'm not moving, you know, then I'm not moving up to class, now I'm in a regular position.
Okay,
And then we fill that position again. And I think with the attrition that we have annually in the district, when we decide it is time to go back to 8 sections, if that's what we're able to do, then I think that should be a little bit easier. To be honest, my sole concern with it is the ebb and flow of enrollments. We could turn around and have, you know, 2 weeks from now, have 185 kids in that section. And then we know, well, we needed 3 sections, or 3 sections in that building, and we're fine. But we could also lose 10 or 12 kids. And now that 4th grade class is bigger, or the 1st grade class is bigger, well, it would be the first grade class pretty small. And now we wish we wouldn't have added that section. We need it, I guess my point is, I think we need a strategy to get out of 9 sections, if we can. And that's the only real way that I can think of doing it.
So I think getting that certified teacher will do the best for our students at this point, but I appreciate the flexibility of, as students come in and out and through attrition, being able to move that teacher out of that and not being, you know, locked in. So I think we're probably with the best solution, obviously, though, however, we need to find someone.
And how long has this been posted?
Well, this position's just been posted this week.
Okay.
But we know who's available also from previous positions that have been open.
Right.
So we know what the pool is, and we've had some conversations also. You know, it's tough because we're in a negotiating, you know, we're in a negotiating year too, so other districts have completed negotiations, so we know what districts will release and which ones won't. And in August is different than June. When people have signed their contract in June, you know, districts are much more willing to say, well, we'll find another candidate, good luck to you. You know, August 7th, that's sometimes a different feeling,
Yeah.
so.
Any Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. With that, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
I don't
Good
know,
luck.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys,